Hi there. So we are here for book review number 12, and before we get started I want to go ahead and mention that all of these videos, all these book review videos back from the first one to now are all on YouTube. So feel free to check them out over there or on IGTV as I originally started releasing these. So just wanted to mention that real quick. And let's go ahead and get started with these books. So we're going to be looking at this one on Hugh Ramsay and this one on Ramon Casas. And I'm super excited to share these with you guys. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get started.
Okay, so let's get started with this book. First thing I will say about this book is it is not the easiest one to acquire because you have to, it's a catalog for a recent exhibit on Hugh Ramsay's work that took place in Australia and at the National Gallery of Art, Victoria. So the best way to get your hands on this book is to simply contact the museum by email or by phone and request the book, and they will ship it to you. It took a while to get here. Granted, that was also during the horrible fires that were taking place in Australia, so it was extra delayed. But it's really well worth it, and definitely a very good good quality book for the price you pay, and so I highly recommend it, and it's definitely worth the effort of getting to it because it has these little old images that were really, really early on Hugh Ramsay paintings when he was like 14, 15, and you don't often get to see that, so it's just really cool. So we'll get into this book. It has work that he did when he was a student in school. He went to school in Australia. His family was from Scotland, but he grew up in Australia, so he was an Australian painter. And his work is just truly amazing. He really did a lot, given that he was actually only lived till he was 28. He died of tuberculosis, so he really accomplished a lot in his short lifetime. So we'll keep going through. Other thing I'll say is I have read this book cover to cover, so minus some of the letters, as we're about to see, because these are actual letters that he wrote. They just printed them out. You can read them if you just take the time to kind of decipher the fancy writing, but it's really nice, and he has some interesting little tidbits in them. I've read some of the letters, but not all of them. But I have read all of the typed portion of this book, and I will say it is beautifully written and really fascinating. Throughout the book you'll see paintings by Whistler, paintings by Sargent as well, and that is because those were two of his biggest inspirations, Whistler and Sargent. He really looked up to their work, and he really admired it and pulled a lot from it in his own work. This is another really cool feature this book has, so wait for it. Boom. It's so neat. I love these little fold-outs, and you're just like, can this book get better? And then yes it can. So yeah, so anyway, so I do all the image qualities are great. It ranges from everything from finished paintings to sketches. Talks a lot about his inspiration and about his journey. You know, he ended up studying abroad in Paris at Atelier Colarossi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's really cool. It's really exciting. So just to read his life story, it's so inspiring. In fact, this is a really cool painting where it talks about how this full painting, which got chopped down in later life, was featured in another artist's painting, and it's so fascinating. And again, just his beautiful sketches that he did before doing the final paintings. So keep going. I truly can't recommend this book enough. I mean, his work should be way more well known. I actually only found out about it because I was following some artists on Instagram who went and got to see the actual exhibit in Australia, and I was like, what? How have I not heard of this man? He's amazing. His work is beautiful. His story's amazing. I can't believe he died so young. And so, yeah, so this is the second of the fold-outs, by the way. Boom. So cool. But, and so I just wanted to find a book on him, and realized it was very hard to, so that's why I ended up contacting the museum. And I contacted the museum and asked if they had a catalog accompanying it, and they did. So I'll put more instructions on how best to do that, and put the email to the museum shop in the description. I'm not sure if they still have copies of this book, to be honest, but I imagine they typically do run fairly large prints of this, and I know it was a really sought after book. They told me part of the delay with my order was that the book did get back ordered for a time. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. 'Cause this ends in another series of letters that he wrote, which just speaks to the amazing archive of information they have on him. So definitely 10 out of 10 recommend. Okay, so now we'll move on to the second book on Ramon Casas. That's according to pronounceItright.com, I think. So I'm trying to get better at my pronunciations. But anyways, this is a pretty good book on him. I have not read this one. It follows, instead of just like a general biography of this artist, it actually breaks it down into essays. So each chapter is a new essay that kind of goes more in depth onto one topic. Unfortunately for us artists, none of them really kind of relate to his technique. Again, apologies if you can hear some barking. I think I mentioned reviewing the last book, we are dog sitting a little furry friend, and he is adorable, but he is loud. So anyway, so let me go through this book quickly. So it's really nice. So this book, again, it covers essays on different topics, but it's usually like Casas and his traveling, him and his cars. He was apparently a very passionate cyclist and motorist. So, man, it's a hard book to flip through. So anyway, so yeah. So it's nothing really about his technique that I was able to find. But as I've said, I have not read it, so you can judge that for yourself. This book is a little bit more of an investment, and that's mostly due to if you're in the States, and you also, again, you have to pay international shipping for this one. I will check that. I'll see if you can find it on Amazon, but last time I checked, you could only purchase this from the gallery that produced it. That published it, sorry. So that is what's interesting about this. This is actually volume 1 of a catalog raisonne on Ramon Casas, so I do believe there will be more that might focus more on his paintings and more on other work, because this does focus a lot on his it focuses a lot on his graphic work and so on. So you can kind of judge for yourself. I was looking to really kind of expand my range, so I'm very interested in his graphic work. So for me, it's well worth it. But I know for others who maybe graphic work comes more naturally to, maybe it's not as interesting. But yeah, so let's keep going through. All the image qualities are really great. My one complaint is that there aren't more full page illustrations. A lot of the images are pretty small in comparison with other art books that I have, but they're all very good, and so it did introduce me to more of his work. Keep going. So yeah, to back up a bit, the gallery that published this book is in Spain, and so this is volume 1. I do believe there will be more, but I think it's a relatively new production, so hopefully this pandemic has not put too big of a hold on those plans to release more, because it is really, his body of work is very amazing, and I mean, his paintings and his drawings just speak for themselves. I mean, at first I used to think of him as kind of more like a painterly painter, not that exciting, and then the more I saw his work, I was just like, whoa, that's not what I expected. So it teaches me to not judge not judge an artist too quickly on too limited a sample of their work. So keep going. Like I said, it's a lot of the images, I would pause more on them, but for the most part you can kind of get an idea because they're not very big. These last 2 chapters focus mostly on his graphic work and his illustrative work. I'm not sure what other name you'd call it. And then at the very end it goes through and it catalogs each little image. Not all of these appear in the book, but they all, like in the main body of the book, but they all appear at the end. So if you see one of these little images and you want to look it up, you can find its title and more information about it, sorry. So that is pretty exciting. So yeah, so I do, I found it really hard to find books on Casas in the States, so I'm hoping when I can travel again it'll be easier to find some more books on him in Spain perhaps, but given being in the States, I think this is the best I could find for the best price. I'll talk more about that in the description as well.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video. Stick around for next week. We're going to look at a book on Vermeer and a book on Caravaggio. So I'm excited to share those with you guys. So see you next week.